Hello, loveys. How are we? What a day. It is Tuesday, June 10th, 2025. And we are here on day 30 of Commonwealth v. Karen Read. Oh, we made it. How are, oh, look at Sabrina goes, Cam. Yes. Oh, hello. Hi, not guilty. Good evening, cute by half and then some. And thank you so much, Priscilla. I appreciate you. I need to wash my hair, but thank you. I love you. It was a lovely day, lovies. Thank you, Sakina. It was a great day, says Debbie Blair. Oh, I feel restored, lovies. When I tell you last night we had a blackout stream, we thought to ourselves, Jesus, tiny Jesus, and tiny Mary, please take the wheel. Okay. We were 3 seconds from a vigil. We were going to do 24-hour-a-day vigils down at Our Lady's off at Trapella Road in Waltham. We were hitting the ham. Okay. If need be, I was going to have some prayer warriors out. And after today, thank you, tiny Jesus, tiny Mary, stay right there. After today's testimony. Now, we're not jinxing anything. We don't say, we don't say what we don't say. But we got a brand new MVP in the house. Okay. I'm going to need us to give it up one time for the queen of all queens, our Elizabeth Laposata, doctor, pathologist, shit taker. I think not. Okay. A woman in STEM stepping up and giving Hank Brennan a taste of his own medicine. Chef's kiss, 10 out of 10, would recommend. Love her. Bella's Tree Art says obsessed. I agree. Sharon hops in hot here and says amazing. Yes, she was. Rescue Randy Hybrid's arm said she out Spanky in his place. She did. She spanked Spanky. And I lived for it. I actually, lovies, like after the end of this testimony, I took a moment. I clutched my pearls. I clenched my butt so tight. And I prayed to the Lord above. And I thanked God for sending KarenRead 3 specific women in STEM. Okay, I said it. We have Dr. Irene Scorti Bello, who held the line for truth and justice in her medical examination of Officer John O'Keefe. Okay. Then we had Dr. Marie Russell, qualified in ways that no one else in this country would be able to fit the mold in which she did, which was perfect for this case. And to round out the trio, the tres amigas, if you will, was Dr. Elizabeth Laposata, who we didn't know. We just met her. We just met her, and I can't believe we've lived without her. I want to tell you that her consummate professional behavior was unparalleled. Her ability to take the questions, and even on impeachment, she turned it around, spun it upside down, threw a little spice on it, and shoved it directly up the poop chute of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Oh. We're good, babes. We're good. Jaw-dropping moments in which I thought to myself, am I prepared for what is to come next when I see Alan Jackson grab those films? No. I was unwell. Today, what was I screaming? Chants of joy. Was I saying, Dr. Laposata, she's our woman. If she can't do it, No one can. I was a cheerleader, okay? Cheering for justice, for truth, and for the American dream. Okay, sorry, that was weird. Ended it on a weird note. So now let's get into it. Look at Aisha. She's screaming about the x-rays and threw a cookie monster on the end. I know. I too cookie monstered this. Val thinks that I'm absolutely a lunatic. And Elle Lee says during impeachment, she dropped the bullshit, a tiny bullshit from a classy woman. She goes, it's all bullshit. And then she says, erroneous. And now I'm going to say erroneous. I'm going to be like, yes, it's bullshit erroneous. And we're going to thank Dr. Laposata for bringing us that little pearl, that little nugget. Also, is there anything better than Dr. Laposata telling Hank Brennan that he's pronouncing all the shit wrong? You know, the Glasgow coma scale. And she's like, that's the Glasgow. Yeah. Oh my gosh, we have so much, Levies. So much. Let's get into it. What a day. Free KarenRead. We're going to be Karen Freed. This has restored us. Have your faith, babes. And that's why when we were on a blackout stream last night, okay, we repented. We felt bad. I did, at least a little bit. And I said, but the petty paralegal, she changed her faces today. I'll tell you that. Okay, we're going. I'm so excited. Take it away, doctor.
Do you see what's displayed on the screen above your head?
Yes.
What is that?
Excuse me, that's a cross-section across the brainstem of Mr. O'Keefe, and it shows where the blue arrows I've put in there.
Standing stones, sorry, babe, all of them. Every bone, upper extremities, lower extremities, sternum, their abdomen, not abdomen, spine, everything was x-rayed, and we just found out about it today. It was day 30. And actually, you know me, because I'm a little bit of a skatool. I pulled up Judson B. Welcher talking all his shit about there being no x-rays in his in his cross-examination with Attorney Alessi.
Show the red areas, which are areas of bleeding, which is the sign of brainstem herniation. All the background is white material, and that's part of the appearance of neurons in the brain. So that shows that the brainstem, because of the brain swelling, pushed it down into the hole in the base of the skull where the spinal cord goes, and it pulls on the blood vessels, causing the blood vessels to break and the blood vessels to bleed, and that shows you that the brainstem has been compressed and damaged, causing death.
May I approach?
Yes.
I'm holding a green laser pointer.
Oh, thank you.
The display to your right, so the viewers can better see it. Could you point to the areas with that laser pointer of the bleeding that you indicated causes the swelling?
Okay, so, okay. Is that going on the...
It is. It's probably hard for you to see.
Oh, that's okay. So this sort of roundish thing is the brainstem, and the arrows are pointing to the red areas. So there's a blood vessel that's broken there because it's been torn and pulled, with surrounding blood going into the neuronal tissue here and over here and over here.
All right, Levies. And I just wanted to say that this is a great comment. Rescue Randy's Reasonable Doubt says she is so cute. Oh. Okay, we know how I feel about men that are over the age of 75. I would never guess a lady's age, and she's probably 49. But what I am going to say is this: adorable. The cutest, smartest, soft-spoken angel that has ever come out of fucking Rhode Island, in my opinion. Okay? And her ability to break this information down in which she did to the jury and to all of us, right? I have a medical background. I'm a registered nurse, but I know that our friends, my best friends from out of town, were like, why was this so easy for me to understand? And it hadn't been broken down like this before by anyone. Sometimes people's level is really high, like they're so intelligent, but they can't break it down for us. That's why we love who? Attorney Mr. Mark Betterow, because he can break it down for us and it's very special. Not everyone has that gift, and she has it. And I was so impressed.
And also some of this is also bleeding with the blood looking brown because the brain was placed in formaldehyde. So all this brown area, the red area, should not be there.
Is this type of herniation life-threatening?
Oh, it causes death. Yes, it is life-threatening.
How quickly, we can take that down. How quickly, doctor, would you expect that this could cause, let's first talk about incapacitation.
Yes.
How quickly would someone be incapacitated after they suffer a coup contra coup injury of this magnitude with the concomitant injuries that you see in the brainstem?
Well, there would be two parts to what that injury would cause the body to do. First, there would be immediate unconsciousness because of the transfer of all the energy to the brain and the massive skull fractures. So that, excuse me, so that would disrupt the normal function of the brain and produce immediate unconsciousness. Then the brain would start to swell, and within 15, 20 minutes or so, then that brainstem starts to go down the opening in the bottom of the skull, and then the blood vessels are broken, the brainstem gets compressed, and the centers in that brainstem which control the heart and the respiration then stop. So you go unconscious, brain swells, then you die.
Turning to the actual, your
and just to remind loveys, not to put a little feather in your girl Nurse Kim's hat, but everything that Dr. Laposata said today on the stand, who's been screaming it for a year? Us.
review of the actual brain, in this instance, Mr. O'Keefe's injuries specifically, did you reach any conclusion or opinion to a reasonable degree of medical certainty about his incapacitation, the length of time it would take for him to become first incapacitated and ultimately to be rendered dead?
He would be immediately incapacitated with a decreased level of consciousness. Once he received that impact on the back of the head, he would not be able to make any purposeful movements. There might be some arm jerking or some seizure activity, but he would not be able to carry. He wouldn't be able to get up. He wouldn't be able to walk. He wouldn't be able to do any purposeful activity. He would be severely concussed, unconscious, not able to walk, not able to carry out purposeful activity. And then as the brain continues swelling and that brain stem gets compressed, then the heartbeat is disrupted, the breathing is disrupted, and then those heart and breathing stop. And within 15 or 20 minutes, then he could be dead.
Oh, how heartbreaking. And, this is different, loveys. This is not what has been provided by the Commonwealth at any time. And this is Dr. Laposata basically telling us, with her medical training and experience, and her doing this for 40 plus years, that she knows that Officer John O'Keefe, after that fatal blow, that final whatever occurred that had the basal fractures that radiated, that within 15 to 20 minutes, that brainstem herniation would have occurred. And that is life, not just threatening, but life ending.
Is that opinion to a reasonable degree of medical certainty?
Yes, it is.
You testified concerning wound pattern recognition pretty extensively during the course of your giving your qualifications. What is a patterned injury?
A patterned injury is very basic to the training in forensic pathology and medicine because it helps us understand some change on the body, some pattern injury that corresponds to the object that made it. So we can look at an injury and say, we can figure out what made that. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. But a pattern injury is very important for a forensic pathologist to recognize, because it's going to really help the police investigation. Because I can say, oh, this looks like it's a wound from scissors. This looks
Yeah.
like it's a wound from a screwdriver stab. So by identifying the pattern that object makes on the body, I can help the death investigation by helping the police say, look for some screwdriver, look for some hammer. So looking at that, identifying a pattern injury is really important it's basic to the forensic pathologist's knowledge base, and then also very important to the investigation of the crime or incident.
I'd like you to look at another photograph, an exhibit that's already been put into evidence. 160, please, with the court's permission.
Photo 160.
Jurors, this may be one of the photographs as well. Right. Or there'll be a series.
There also was an instruction, Levies, that was given by Judge Beverly Canoni that although these images that were shown in court today are graphic and they are heartbreaking and they depict injuries sustained by the victim, who is Officer John O'Keefe, the jury is not allowed to make a verdict and an opinion based on their sympathy of when they look at these very distressing photos. Oh,
Dr. Laposata, I want to draw your attention to the center of this photograph.
Yes.
First of all, do you recognize what's depicted here?
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize?
I recognize it from reviewing the autopsy photographs of Mr. O'Keefe.
You reviewed it, informing your opinions and conclusions?
Yes.
Can you describe what's depicted in this photograph? What are we looking at?
Yes. So we're looking at the back of Mr. O'Keefe's head
Yeah.
and an injury caused by the angular acceleration going down and hitting his head in the back. And then this is also a pattern injury. So what we see is the horizontal tear of the scalp, and we can see it's undermined a little bit. So that means the direction is going from bottom to top.
Kat, great question. Nurse Kim, does that mean that his brain died before his body expired, or the opposite? So during the time of Officer John O'Keefe, immediately after he was struck, or something happened, right? Whether he fell, which actually that is the opinion of Dr. Laposata, that he fell on a ridged surface. And what she is saying is that the swelling of that brain, it has nowhere to go from a coup contra coup injury. As soon as you have your brain, because it's floating, right? And we only have to the skull where it is our brains are able to expand. So once it expanded to the point where it herniated, sorry, graphic contact, Levies, once it herniated out of the brain stem, right? You're herniating down towards the only hole in the skull, your foramen magnum. That would have then shut down his respirations and stopped his heart. So his brain is impacted immediately. No ability to do any functional, meaningful activity. He would have still, at that time, been breathing independently until that final, after the swelling, and the only place that your brain can get out of your skull, then that would have shut everything down in your autonomic nervous system, and he would have expired.
Also, we see these sort of vertical lines in here and down below. So what that tells me is that the back of his head hit something that had a fine granular pattern to it to cause those individual little marks. And then also something
Granular
that had
pattern.
a linear or ridged pattern that he went back on that broke the scalp there. So we have two parts really to this pattern injury. We have the horizontal tear of the scalp made by impact with some sort of ridged surface. And then we have these vertical scraping of the skin above and also below. They're obscured a little bit by the ruler there, which says that whatever he hit had some little like granularity to it with each with each little sort of granule making those vertical marks, and then the ridged pattern having the major point of impact.
What is the significance of the pattern when you say ridged pattern? And there's two things we're looking at: the laceration.
Also, Levies, a lot of people have been saying about our queen's breathing, okay? This is just indicative of, some sort of process that she has going on in her body. And she is doing what's called pursed lip breathing. So she is just blowing off because it is easy for her to catch her breath that way. It is easier, and she is compensating, right? So that is how some people breathe. So I don't like anybody being fresh, and I know my humans wouldn't be. But that's not something that she is doing intentionally in any way, shape, or form. It is a way for her to be able to get her answers out and to not be short of breath. She is doing that specific breathing in order for her to provide the answers, and in the thorough manner that she does. And Remy, you tell him. No, just kidding. Levies, like the video, I guess. I never say that, but thank you. It's our 100th video together. Are you kidding me? On our 100th episode, we get to do Dr. Elizabeth Laposata. I couldn't ask for a better frickin' Tuesday night. I love you, all of my best friends from out of town. Thank you for frickin' being here with me.
Or the abrasion versus the defect above and below that laceration.
Yeah, so what this injury tells me, and what I would tell the investigators, is that Mr. O'Keefe went back onto some object that had some sort of ridge to it to make that horizontal tear in the skin, but that ridge also it wasn't smooth. It had some little grainy grainy thing sticking up on it.
Am I not obsessed with her? First and foremost, though, also, I'm sorry, Dr. Laposata, are you saying that it's not the murder ground? And we're going to get into it. Okay. A woman who talks with her hands, she is us, we are her. Oh. And she is giving us an example of the force that had to have happened. He fell onto what? Something. And whatever made that horizontal line was not the murder ground. Oops. Oh, I don't know. Have we been saying that? Because it doesn't make sense with the injury and there only being a 1-inch laceration to the right occiput, not oxyboner, of Officer John O'Keefe's cranium.
It would make each of then these little things. And then it's the job of the police then to go back to the scene and look around for something which might fit that pattern.
We can take that down. Did you, in furtherance of your investigation, and coming to your opinions and conclusions, look at the area of 34 Fairview?
The outside, yes.
Meaning photographs?
Yes.
Did you also see photographs of any significance to you related to the garage, the interior of the garage?
Oh.
Sustained. Jurors, disregard that comment, that question.
What part of the area did you see? What part of the location did you see?
Excuse me. I saw all the scene photographs taken by the police, which showed the front yard in the area where Mr. O'Keefe was found. I also saw some photographs of the inside of the house and the inside of...
So I'm going to stop you there, Dr. Laposata. Jurors, I'm striking anything afterward.
Oh, come on.
Outside, Mr. Jackson.
But
Move
also,
on.
Let's stay with the outside of the home. Did you see the front lawn area?
Yes, I did.
How did you?
but you know what? What is the one thing that any attorney will tell us? All of our law tubers would say, can't unring the bell, right? Okay.
What did you note about the front lawn area?
Well, I was looking at the area where Mr. O'Keefe's body was found, because we know once he came back and slammed his head, he's not going to get up and move around.
So, yes, I'm going to strike the second part of that. Just answer the question specifically.
Okay, I'll try, Your Honor. Thank you.
Why were you interested in the outside area where his body was found?
Because then I could identify an object possibly there that would have caused the injury on the back of his head.
Did you see any such object in any of the photos that you reviewed?
No, there was nothing there. It was a flat grass surface.
Would the flat grass, let's assume that the grass was very cold and very hard, the dirt was very cold and very hard, would falling backward onto that dirt, hard or not, would that cause the patterned injury that you see, that we just saw in Exhibit 160?
No.
There it was. There it is. I'm sorry. We've got to celebrate with something because we always knew that. Oh, so you're telling me that the murder ground, the lawn of 34 Fairview, where we saw what? Leaves, where we saw grass. And I mean, like up close and personal pics, babes. And the Commonwealth tried to tell us that the frozen murder ground was as hard as a rock because they're fucking geologists, okay? They cosplay as the land before time. Someone's a long neck, and I know it's not Hank Brennan.
Why do you say that?
Because if you fall back on a flat surface, you get many times the tear you get in the scalp can be more like a star because you've just hit one part and then the tears go in kind of a star pattern. And also because you would not have those discrete vertical scraping of the skin. You would tend to, if you fell back on grass, you might see grass in the wound, or you would tend to see an irregular kind of crisscross pattern of the flattened grass. And that's not what we.
Oh, did she just say crisscross applesauce as it relates to the frozen murder ground? Thank you. Thank you, my queen. Appreciate it. Also, we know that there were no twigs. There was no blades of grass. There was no blades of glory. And that it never made sense that only a 1 inch, which I thought was 2.5, don't judge me, a 1 inch laceration to the right, like the mid but right of Officer John O'Keefe's head would have occurred. There was way more surface area. And if it were an actual, it would have starred out, right? You call it the star pattern because it is that blunt. And then you would have had all of the kind of surroundings of what that pressure hit on. I just ate my microphone. It's a wild night, babes.
We have here on Mr. O'Keefe.
Do you have any training or experience in diagnosing hypothermia?
Yes, Brandy.
Oh, yes.
Have you conducted autopsies of individuals who have suffered from or died from hypothermia?
Yes, many.
How many?
100 or more, and then I've supervised my assistants who've also diagnosed the same death from decrease in body temperature.
Have you ever engaged in any death investigation, aside from the actual autopsies, death investigations in which the cause of death was deemed to be hypothermia?
Yes.
How many times would you say you've undertaken that type of investigation?
At least 100.
Have you ever reviewed any peer-reviewed medical literature associated with or discussing hypothermia and something known as Wisniewski spots?
Yes, that's in the medical
ding, ding,
literature
ding,
and
it's
also in our
happening.
forensic textbooks.
Did you review the medical examiner's file, Dr. Scortibello's file, as it related to, in connection with this case, you reviewed the entire file, correct?
I did.
Did you conduct a differential diagnosis as it relates to the potential for hypothermia?
Yes, I did.
Describe, before we get into your findings or your conclusions and opinions, what is inferential thinking?
Inferential thinking is another name for making a differential diagnosis. In other words, seeing a finding and then saying, how many ways can I get that finding? And then go and investigate each one of those ways and either rule them in or rule them out as being responsible to causing that finding.
Did you note whether or not the medical examiner, Dr. Scortibello, mentioned hypothermia as a potential cause of death in this case?
She did put that on the death certificate,
Along with something else?
along with the blunt force head injury.
Do you agree with or concur with the blunt force head injury
Yes,
as a cause of death?
yes, Mr. O'Keefe died from the blunt force head injury.
Do you concur with the diagnosis of hypothermia?
No, the body did not have any hypothermia.
Oh.
What led you to that conclusion?
Okay, but because now I'm on an Ozempic kick because I've eaten my feelings, we're going to say, Ozempic. What? I can't. Tell me more. Yet we knew it, right? We always said this since before trial 1.0. If you ever saw me, where? Over at Sean on the Golf's show, Mr. McDonough, or with the Young Jerks with Mike Crawford, or on TikTok, we talked all the shit about Officer John O'Keefe not having hypothermia findings, including frostbite. And babes, you're shitting me. When I have thought to myself, watch, something's going to come in, but we've seen all the pictures. We got the x-rays today. What else? What else could be hidden behind the fucking curtain? I don't know. But don't take me to the wizard, babe, because I'm on the yellow brick road. Take me, and where is it going to lead me? Not to the Lollipop Guild. Okay? It's going to lead me to free KarenReadville.
Well, when you have we know that normal body temperature is around 98, and we know that then at the hospital that Mr. O'Keefe's rectal temperature was around 80. So we know that his temperature went down. So there are two ways the body temperature can get down. It can get down while you're alive, or a dead body also cools when it's in a cold environment. So those are the two things you have to look at.
Take a look. I'm
Show
sorry,
Mr.
Mayor Pro
Remington.
Tem.
Yep, show Mr. Remington.
Thank you. I apologize.
Yes.
Do you recognize what's depicted in that photograph?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
This is a photograph I took from our forensic medical literature, and it shows the lining of the stomach. So the stomach is opened up, and we look at the lining of the stomach, and it shows a characteristic pattern of small ulcerations throughout the stomach, which are called medically Wisniewski's ulcers, and that allows a forensic pathologist to diagnose.
Standing Stones, great question. Where were the x-rays taken? At the ER or at autopsy? I don't know. I do not know, Sam, I am. Standing Stones, I am. But we know that it was documented literally by Dr. Irene Scorti-Bello. And here, and we'll talk all the shit when we get there. I'm sorry, this is laying the foundation. We're trying to be a law channel here, guys. We're legal medical. I'm laying the foundation of what Dr. Laposata, what her opinions are. And then we've got 3 more parts because we want to give this queen her shine. She deserves it. But I know that it was in the autopsy. It was included, and this is all in the findings or the folder of the ME. So I'm thinking if it didn't come from Good Sam, it had to have been the ME, right?
Death from being exposed to a cold environment or death due to hypothermia.
Oh,
and they're caused by, as the body gets colder and colder when it's alive, the small blood vessels in the lining of the stomach.
Look at KM is correcting me. KM, thank you, Lovey. She says standard protocol for death on ER arrival. Okay. So now, if Officer John O'Keefe arrived to the hospital at 6:37 a.m. and they worked on him and didn't pronounce till 7:50 a.m., KM, did they still do it then? Or are you saying DOAs? Sorry.
They start to break, and then they're in the acidic environment of the stomach, and you get tiny little ulcers, which then look like small dots. And that is how at postmortem examination or autopsy is one of the findings I look for to see if a person died from hypothermia.
Dr. What is gastric mucosa as it relates to the stomach lining?
The gastric mucosa, when you open up the stomach and you look at the inside, the first cells lining that inside is called the mucosa.
Is that what we're looking at in this photograph or no?
Yes, we're looking at the mucosa with ulcerations, which are little craters that form in it due to hypothermia.
Is that exemplar of what Wisniewski spots looks like as it relates to hypothermia from a book that is, or literature that is peer reviewed?
Oh, yes.
Is it widely accepted in the medical field?
Yes, it is.
And is it referenced by forensic pathologists and used in teaching?
Yes.
Okay, Loveys, gastric ulcers. She's talking about that mucosa, and so did Dr. Irene Scorti-Bello. Now, let's turn back the hands of the time. And remember, in our composition notebooks, we have Attorney Alessi discussing with Irene Scorti-Bello the findings and medications of which that Officer John O'Keefe is on. And do you remember what specifically she read that would have had to do with gastric ulcers? Do you remember the medication? We're not in school, but like, I'll give you a second because it was boo, boo, boo. We know what it is. We have the smartest in the biz. It is omeprazole. There we go. There we go, loveys. You are the smartest and you are the prettiest. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Boom.
Your Honor, I would move for the admission of that photograph.
Okay.
She's moving that photo in.
226.
Permission to display, Your Honor?
Yes.
Is this a fair representation of what you were just looking at?
Yes.
Describe what we're looking at.
Okay, so this, I took this photograph from our forensic medical literature, and this was from a person who died due to exposure to a cold environment. And this is the stomach that has been opened, and we're looking at the inside of the stomach. And the normal appearance is kind of pinky white. That's how it should look like. And what's abnormal here is all these black dots, which are the Wisniewski's ulcers, which are diagnostic of death due to exposure to the cold.
Oh my gosh, just a normal mom, Jen K. Thank you so much. Here's 200 times to add another 100 streams. Congrats and thanks you for all the laughs and all the loves. Oh, thank you so much, Lovey. I'm going to get emotion. Oh, I can't believe we've been doing this since August of 2024 together. It's gone fast and slow at the same time, and I wouldn't have changed a damn thing. I literally love your faces.
So these areas are little tiny craters and they fill up with blood. And we see that in over 90% of the cases of people who die from exposure to the cold.
Doctor, did you also look at Mr.
Gray space. Sorry, Lovey. I know that we're going to do a physics stream. I was going to ask you if you're free on Thursday night. Type yes or no in the chat.
O'Keefe's stomach lining?
Yes, I did.
If we could have, with court's permission,
Do you
exhibit
like me?
164 put
Yes
up
or no?
as well.
Okay.
I'm a stage 5 clinger. Call me Big Neck Daddy Higgins.
Do you see the photograph on the right?
Yes.
What is that of?
This is the Mr. O'Keefe's stomach, which has been opened up when we're looking at the inside. We see that the mucosa is a little bit red, and there's a little bit of increased blood flow here. And this is the normal pattern of the inside of the stomach. It's kind of ridged. That's called rugae. That's the normal folds inside the stomach. But there's no ulcerations here. So the diagnosis of death due to hypothermia is not appropriate in his case.
Did you see, or do you see, any classic Wisniewski spots in Mr. O'Keefe's stomach lining or gastric mucosa?
No, no.
Do you observe any ulcers specific to Mr. O'Keefe's stomach lining?
No, there are no ulcers. It's a normal appearance of what we would call a gross specimen. When you open the stomach at autopsy, you can see some redness of the normal lining of the stomach.
Okay, so this was huge. Loveys, take it all in. We have Dr. Laposata saying to us with her own mouth, and as she is looking and bringing up other textbook literature of what would need to be present in someone who actually perished because of a hypothermia diagnosis. And it was not present in Officer John O'Keefe. Now, Dr. Irene Scordi-Bello told us that she believed there was 10 to 15% of Wisniewski's spots in Officer John O'Keefe's gastric lining. Dr. Laposata says, no, babe. Okay. He was on that omeprazole. He was on that because he was trying to prevent gastric ulcers. They do not treat gastric ulcers, only prevention. Okay. And then additionally, she lets us know why next, why potentially would we have seen actual tiny hemorrhages versus these specific Wisniewski spots in different organs, including pancreas and his stomach. And that is coming up right here at 146. We're going to look Lucas.
Some graphs taken from
And Grayspace, does 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time work for you, Lovey?
peer-reviewed literature in the medical field that's normally relied on by other medical professionals.
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd move for the admission of that first document.
Right, subject to redaction?
I don't think so. I think that that one is not objected to.
Okay. So would you hand that to?
Sure, thank you.
Okay, not to make this like a complete love fest, and I mean, I'm feeling very froggy tonight, lovies. We're about to I want to take us to fucking goat yoga. I want to like call a sensei. I want Reiki all over us because we have like healed our inner children tonight. But I did want to say to Miss Jess MB and to Mimi and to Jen Altman and to Larry Legend and to Jen O and to my mods, like, I love you. I appreciate you. And Miss Jess MB, you've been with me since the beginning, and I'm going to get verklempt. So shut up, Kim. But thank you for being here. And thank you for helping me because you are the best. And I appreciate you.
Exhibit 227.
And my Poxy, I'm so sorry, Poxy.
Permission to display, Your Honor?
Yes.
Doctor, I know that's a little bit small and far away. We'll enlarge it as you need.
Okay.
It's not an eye test. Can you tell me what we're looking at? Yeah, let's take the top half of the document. What is that to the left, and then what's the machine in the
Okay,
middle?
so what you see on the left is a anonymous patient showing how the Lucas machine is placed onto the patient, where the arms are pulled up and clasped against these rigid mechanical bridges, and then here is the engine which push the pump, and that's the pump which just goes up and down to do the chest compressions, and so that's how it's affixed to a patient.
To be clear, Doctor, that is not Mr. O'Keefe. That is
No, this is
Could be a model.
an unknown person.
Okay. And then what are we looking at in terms of the
All right, Levy. So this was started, okay? And we know this because we heard it from Timmy Nuttall, okay, who was Nuttall. And we also heard it from Anthony Flammati, also probably Katie McLaughlin, but I digress. We know that the Lucas machine is providing that high quality CPR to our patients. And this is allowing like our field clinicians, right, to not get so exhausted. Because I tell you this, if you have ever done 2 to 3 rounds of compressions, chest compressions on someone. I did it when I was 8 months pregnant. 8 months pregnant with my first daughter. I worked at a skilled nursing facility, Winchester Nursing Center. Hey, it's been 15 years. And I was on the subacute rehab floor, and one of my patients coded, and I was on his chest on multiple rounds. And I'll never forget, one of my nurses came in who worked with me, and she was like, oh, I really need to get him a podiatry consult. And I was like, I will fucking murder you. Help me. Right. I was like, babe, we cannot talk about podiatry. He may not be here. Okay. I need a rhythm before I care about toenails. Jesus.
actual machine to the
Yeah,
right?
this shows the actual machine before it's put on a patient. You can see how it encircles the patient, and then there is this circular pump, which is the compressor pump.
If we can look at what is that a picture of, the highlighted portion?
That's the circular part that actually is projected down onto the body.
That makes contact with the chest.
Correct, and it has a spring in there that the engine above it gives a certain number of compressions per minute.
And you said on average the compressions per minute would be about what?
They should be around 100.
Okay. If we could go to the bottom half of the page of the
Also very exciting for all of our medical community. We used to give compressions to staying alive, okay? Staying alive. Guess what? Okay? Now your girl's doing compressions. God forgive me, but the next time I do it, I'm doing it to the sounds of Pink Pony Club. All right? I am obsessed. Chapel Rowan, take me away.
graphics on the bottom.
Beats per
What are
minute.
we looking at in this photograph?
And we're looking at, on the left side, we're looking at a CAT scan, which scans a person who's had some injury from the Lucas compression machine, and it sorts a cross section. So the arrow here is
Yes,
pointing
design
to
rhythm.
the head of the pancreas and the area of the esophagus, and then the machine would compress down onto that. And the important part is that, I don't know if that's working on there, the little thing that looks like at the very bottom, that's circular and then has a little, looks like a little steer head, that's the vertebral column, and that's bone.
Okay, so just so that we're looking at this, loveys, all of you, you know that this is your spinal column. That is your actual spine, right? And here is where the arrows are telling where the Lucas machine is compressing. And here are all the organs. All of your organs live mostly, right under your sternum, all of them. And you are going to have, when this specific is going down 2 to 3 inches every, more than once a second, because it's 100 beats per minute, we are getting hemorrhaging, even though it's going to be mostly 99.9% of the time, it would be non-life threatening, because this is helping you keep you alive. It can cause fractures. It can give you, light internal bleeding, but nothing that couldn't be repaired by your own body. So this is her, she's showing us a CAT scan, how it would present. And this is her diagram and imaging. And this is showing your liver. This is showing your pank. This is showing your kids in the back, right? Be good kids. And she is just saying that we have all of this could be impacted with those compressions.
And so the pump is pushing in that area where the arrow is pushing those organs against the bony vertebral column. Excuse me. And that's an actual patient that had that. Then on the right, it shows the schematic of the blue arrows indicating the force coming down. Then we see the organs, and the red arrows show how the pancreas can get hemorrhage, and also some of the esophagus that goes into the top part of the stomach. And we see that that's, I can't really see where that, I think it stopped.
Oh. May I approach you?
Yes.
Oh, yes. She had a little bit of light visual, her little pointer went gone. So now here we go. Let's get to the main event. Loveys, I want you to get your pearls if you have them. Make sure that your Diet Cokes, Diet Dr. Peppers, full calorie Cokes if you're skinny bitches. And we are about to see one of the most jaw-dropping parts that has ever come out in this trial. And listen, nothing surprises me. Anything could happen, right? We say to ourselves, what could surprise me? Well, this sure as shit did. Do
not correspond to injuries that could have been produced by irregular fractured plastic pieces impacting his arm. Do you recall putting that in your report?
Yes, I wrote that.
Do you stand by that?
Yes, that's my conclusion.
And you also wrote, his arm had no tissue bruising from impact injury. Do you remember writing that?
Yes,
Do you stand by that?
I do.
You also wrote, neither did his skin show any array of irregular, unpredictable, randomly scattered cuts and scrapes at various angles and depths. Do you remember writing that?
I did.
And do you stand by that?
I do.
I do too, doctor.
You also wrote that you noted Mr. O'Keefe had no bruising on his arms or torso. Is that right?
Yes.
Correct.
And you also wrote, in particular, Mr. O'Keefe did not have bruises on his legs, correct?
Yes, correct.
And you indicated that that was shown by dissection of the leg tissue and muscle at autopsy. Is that right?
Yes, there was a
Correct.
special leg dissection done to look for bumper impacts.
Can't put the toilet water. Can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
You reviewed the entirety of the medical records associated with the autopsy,
Yes,
including photographs,
taken at the hospital, yes,
okay, and autopsy photographs,
yes,
and other data and documentation, correct?
yes.
Are x-rays an important part of an autopsy generally?
Oh, yes, usually there are x-rays taken of the body prior to the examination.
What do x-rays show? Why are those important?
They're important because they show foreign material in the body, like a bullet. They also image the skeleton, so we can look for fractures of the bones.
Thank you, Magman Easton. Listen, okay? I hear this crackling, babes. I'm hearing this crackling. I go, what in the actual F is happening at that podium? I am blacking out my ears. I'm like weird with sounds. If people are loud chewers, I'm like, I get an eye twitch, okay? This trial has been challenging for me because I'm hearing things that I don't want to hear, AKA Judge Beverly Cannoni's size. And also, hearing Hank, I hear Hank sneezing. I hear Law McGlaw, coughing. Jim needs to go and see. I'm not even joking. He has to go to endocrinology immediately. Jim, the clerk, because I think he's got something happening. Okay, I'm going to say that right now. Go see a specialist. But I digress. There's a lot of sounds. I'm getting aggravated at hearing the sounds. And then I see this. Bitch. I'll take a sip.
Let me have just one more.
Immediately, yes. Immediately, yes. We know. You knew. I knew. We knew. Immediately. I fucking lose it. I go, I'm sorry. Does AJ have the film? Oh. I left. I walked away. I had to take a walk around the block, bitch. I was blacked out. This was unbelievable. 10 out of 10. I could not contain my shit. Oh, look at him with the films. Look at him. He's putting them down. So many films.
May I approach?
Oh. P.S. If you saw a man who looked like the Kentucky Fried Chicken man, that's Krowski Sr. Colonel.
Yes.
And I've never seen Hank Brennan say, can I approach quicker? Absolutely. Hank, you got a fucking problem. You have a problem and you can't hide it. You are a fucking asshole and everyone knows that you suck in this role. Sorry, that's a random song that was made. But also, maybe if the Commonwealth hadn't been living their lives like this.
Suspicious, don't be suspicious.
John Ralphio?
And if maybe they weren't so as concerned about, just hiring experts that like to do.
But what happens when I spread my load out, when I lay on my bed like this?
Yeah. Maybe instead of Welcher spreading his load all around his bed, okay? Multiple times, actually scarring me emotionally. I am going to talk to a therapist about it. BetterHelp.com, not sponsored. But we finally see this, and it makes sense. This tracks Loveys. This 100% tracks that that the Commonwealth, via Hank Brennan, would have allowed their expert to testify that there were no x-rays that he had seen regarding Officer John O'Keefe's right upper extremity. And then AJ on day 30 pulls that shit out, pulls the film. All right. I mean, I want to put it up on a screen, bitch. I need a radiologist immediately. Someone read it. Show me everything. I am obsessed with this moment. Sorry. Olivia, turn it off. I'm on. Oh, you're walking up. Oh, let's sidebar. X-ray gate. Okay. Now we're going to get to Ray. Ooh, nope, just kidding. JK. Because they take a minute at sidebar. Oh, no, they didn't, I guess. Oh, yeah, nope, then they actually go away. I was fibbing, guys. Sorry, my bad. Then everyone, needed lunch because Judge Cannoni couldn't handle that one. And she was like, oh, I feel like we've talked about this before. You think? All right, now, 302. Is it 302?
Did you look at Mr. O'Keefe's x-rays of Mr. O'Keefe's right hand?
Yes.
Did you see any defect in the bones of the right hand?
No bony defects, and the tissue was normal.
Did you take a look at the x-ray of Mr. O'Keefe's right arm?
Parksy! Stop it! Stop it, Parksy! Congratulations to your 100th stream. Celebrating you tonight. Also our queen, Dr. Laposata. The film, a random unnecessary podiatry consult in the middle of a cardiac episode. I love your face. And I love yours. Oh, Parksy, we're going to have to get lunch soon, lovey. Thank you so much. You're the best.
Yes.
Did you notice any defects at all in the bones in the right arm?
No, the bones in the right arm were intact.
Oh.
Breaks?
Correct, no breaks.
Fractures, hairline fractures?
Nope.
Did you look at the upper arm?
Now, this is very important. He asks if there was any breaks or any hairline fractures. And I'm sure that you remember in your handy-tandy notebooks of your brains and or your composition notebooks that that's exactly what Judson B. Welcher, the load spreader, asked about.
X-ray, Mr. O'Keefe.
Yes.
Did you note any defects in the bone structure of Mr. O'Keefe's upper arm?
No, the bones were 100% intact.
Oh.
Breaks, fractures, hairline fractures?
Correct, none of those.
Was there any indication in your mind, based on your review of those three x-rays, the hand, forearm, the arm,
Forearm.
that arm had suffered any kind of bone trauma at all?
Sustained.
Why?
Was there any indication, based on your review, your expert opinion, that his arm had been broken, fractured?
No, the bones were intact. No breakage, no fractures.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Life changing. Now, let's turn back the hands of time, Lovey, and we've got to watch this load spreader. Okay? We got to hear him walk himself into a hole that I have never been more excited to see someone try to crawl out of. Okay? When I tell you I previously didn't give one shit about seeing Judson B. Welcher, Blue Man Group cosplayer of Officer John O'Keefe back on the stand. Send him. I need to see him now. Put him on the stand immediately. If not sooner, I demand it. Okay, let's watch this fuck.
That Mr. O'Keefe suffered no fractures of any kind in his hand, correct?
So there were no fractures noted in the autopsy report, but they didn't actually x-ray, from the records I've seen, either his hand or his arm. So there was, at least according to the autopsy report, no overt fractures, but the x-rays I saw, none of them were the arm, and the autopsy report said no sternum, spine, I think it said torso. They didn't say that there were no fractures there.
Was there any evidence in the medical records that you reviewed of any indication whatsoever of a fracture in Mr. O'Keefe's hand?
No.
Was there any indication whatsoever in any of the medical records you reviewed that there was a fracture of any bone in the right arm of Mr. O'Keefe?
Not that I saw. Again, it wasn't x-rayed.
Was there any indication in the medical records, in the autopsy that you say you reviewed, of any fracture of any bone anywhere in the body of Mr. O'Keefe?
Yes.
Other than the occipital bone or the skull?
There's a couple bones in the skull that are fractured, but other than the skull, no.
Correct. So, are you aware that the medical examiner for the state of Massachusetts, Dr. Scorty Bello, performed an autopsy on Mr. O'Keefe? Are you aware of that?
Yes.
And you're aware of it because you read the autopsy report, correct?
Correct.
Are you implying, it's a question, that Dr. Scorty Bello missed a fracture or didn't look properly for a fracture on Mr. O'Keefe?
No. I'm simply indicating that, for example, a hairline fracture, I didn't see any evidence that they actually x-rayed the structure, so there'd be no overt evidence of that.
There were wounds on the right arm of Mr. O'Keefe, correct?
Correct.
And you are saying that the medical examiner should have x-rayed that to determine whether there was a hairline fracture? Is that your testimony?
No, you're asking me about evidence and proof of absence of fracture. So I would look for an x-ray to see if that was the case. I haven't seen any evidence of an x-ray of the arms.
Oh. Oh. Loveys, it was worse than I remembered. I mean, double, triple, quadruple down. Judson B. Welter, I don't give a shit how many of your name you are. You are the last of your name that KarenRead will ever have to deal with. I'm sorry. When I went back and I listened to it, babes, he told us that he saw x-rays. He just didn't see ones of Officer John O'Keefe's arm. And are you accusing our medical examiner, our other queen, Dr. Scorty Bello? Are you accusing strong and independent women in STEM of not doing their jobs? Sir. Because when Attorney Alessi is saying to him, are you saying that the medical examiner did not do x-rays? And he didn't say that because he knew damn right well that if they didn't bring it up, I think they were like, we're going to fucking jump for joy when Laposata comes in. And if he kept going down the path, Attorney Alessi was going to let him go all the way off the cliff. There were wounds, external wounds to Officer John O'Keefe's right upper extremity. There was a theory from Mass State Police and Trooper Michael Proctor that included being struck by a motor vehicle. And you don't think that specifically that arm would have been x-rayed by a medical examiner? Oh, Judson, honey. Oh, hope you enjoyed that $325K. I don't see you having a lot of contracts in the future. Aperture. Crappy appy. What do you do when with your crappy appy? Sure. I digress. Oh, Juddy. Oh, Juddy. And you know, this is what he was busy doing, though, babes. We all know he was just...
But what happens when I spread my load out, when I lay on my bed like this?
Maybe instead of spreading that load, we could have been reviewing the documents. Because inside of those docs, babe, was hidden treasures. And therefore, you did not do your job as an accident reconstructionist. This has been a tale, like a tall tale of Commonwealth supporters, including Kevin, including Good Time Jewel Carp. Everyone says you don't know if there were hairline fractures on Officer John O'Keefe's arm. I'm not saying how could she have felt them. Well, she didn't, babes. And there is a huge difference, and there is a reason why Attorney Alessi made sure to provide the pressure, or not the pressure, I lied, the forces that would be needed to break the bones in the hand, which is less than the arm, less than the radius, less than the ulna. Your hand bones are at 300 psi or whatever the fuck it is. Sorry, it's physics, gray space. We'll talk about it, but it is at different intervals that breaks would occur. And the biggest thing to me was that when the Commonwealth thought they had scored it all, he bellowed, oh, they believed that showing the strike at, showing the strike at 29 miles per hour was going to end up being a win for them when they show the arm getting struck by that taillight and exploding. But when you look at that force and that impact on Rescue Randy's arm, on his 9-pound little fucking brother, then you know damn right well that there would have been injury. And in my brain, I go, shit. But we have the x-rays. And it's impossible by forces of pressure and the physics and the things we know, because Dr. Rentschler will tie it in a bow. In Jesus' name we pray. Thank you.
Examination.
Good afternoon, Dr. Laposata.
6 minutes till the afternoon. Good afternoon.
That's okay. You wrote a report in this case, doctor?
Yes, I did.
Do you think that based on your analysis, was Mr. O'Keefe thrust backwards? Is that what you determined looking at his head injury?
That he was, I didn't understand you had your hand in front of your mouth.
Sure, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You talked about a head injury that Mr. O'Keefe had, that
Yes.
he suffered from?
Yes.
That caused his death?
Yes.
Was that caused by being thrust backwards?
Yeah, the motion was upwards, down.
Okay. And the way you just showed it could be a fall?
Correct.
Loveys, not only does she immediately come out the gate hot, just like Val says, I love the way she starts off with him. Excuse me, your hand was in front of your mouth. I couldn't understand what you were saying. Yes, Mom. Immediately. Yes, I hear you. I'm picking up what you are putting down. But also, all right, hint, if you didn't see it, if you didn't know this, he knows her. They know each other. The plot thickens. Oh, and look, there he is, our little Victorian ill child. Oh, and the petty paralegal is right behind him.
Did you have an opinion looking at his wound that he was thrust backwards?
What do you mean thrust?
Well-
His body went backwards. There may have been some applied force to it.
Oh my God, stop. And thrust, I saw a clip that Andrea Burkhart, one of the law tubers who I may have a crush on, she says, yeah, you don't know about thrust, and we wish your mother didn't know about thrusting to Hank Brennan. Oh, I've passed away. She's incredible. I need to watch her.
I don't know about thrust. I'm asking if you have an opinion. Your words. Do you have an opinion about thrust?
What do you mean thrust?
Did the forensic pathology diagnosis mean Mr. O'Keefe's body was thrust backward?
If you want to say thrust as indicating movement, that it went backwards, then you could say it was thrust.
Okay, may I approach?
Yes.
Thank you, Lovey.
I'm showing you page 2 of your report, Dr. Laposata.
Yes.
I'm just going to ask you to read it. Not
Diane
aloud, and I can
G,
ask
thank
you
you.
questions if we take it, but I wanna
Yes,
take it.
yes.
Whoever got those 10 Nurse Kim non-consensual memberships, woohoo, hold on tight. This has been a bumpy ride, and I appreciate you for joining. Thank you, Diane G.
Are you familiar with that?
No, absolutely.
Thanks, Sid. And thank you, Cindy.
So, Dr. Laposata, what did you mean
wouldn't you describe that Mr. O'Keefe's body was thrust backward from a standing position?
Truth,
I mean, that
Norman.
he was standing upright and his body had momentum and went down and hit at the back of his head. So when it was thrust backwards.
You cannot tell forensically how much momentum he had, can you?
No, we don't do those analysis.
If you can't
Yeah,
tell
I'm
if
not
anything
an
caused
accident
that
reconstruction.
momentum based on the head injury, can you?
What do you mean causative? It was caused by his body went backwards.
Yes. And so the amount of force
She's like, hey, you're thrust when you fall, right? You're thrust. It's a word, okay? It's a choice.
causing him to go backwards, that's not something you can determine from the head wound, is it?
No, I can't tell you the amount of force. It was significant because he had the massive skull fractures.
Did you say it would be significant?
Yes.
Yes, significant force.
Thank you again, Diane G.
In modern medicine, there are a number of different machines that can help us see the brain, like a CAT scan, perhaps,
Sure.
MRIs.
Yes.
Would you agree with modern medicine that the use of MRIs and CAT scans and other tools give a clinician equal, if not better, opportunity to examine the brain as actually cutting
Nope.
it and holding it in your hand?
No, the actual gold standard is the pathology, to be able to have the brain in your hand, look at it with your naked eye. And we have conferences in
Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Laposata, and I'm not going to do you dirty like
hospital
that or that.
where we
Okay, perfect. Again, talking with her hands. Let's look at everything with our naked eye. Hold that brain in your hand. Talk patho to me. Boom, 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 new, new. Woo!
we meet with radiologists
has the
and say what we find at
zoomies.
autopsy and see if their radiology was correct.
Can CAT scans and MRIs show contusions on the brain?
Well, they might.
Subdermal hemorrhages?
Subdural hemorrhages. Yes, they can.
Herniations?
Okay, because there is a difference, loveys, okay? A subdermal and a subdural are different things. That's not being fresh, that's being accurate. And she is trying to be as accurate as possible. Kino, what are you doing? This is insanity, sir. Always the friskiest dingo I have ever seen. Woo! Woo! Go, go, go. Oh.
They can.
Do you have
Bobby.
any doubt about the modern medicine and the use of MRIs and CAT scans? Do you think they're inadequate in any way?
Well, I'm not a clinician, so I don't use those to diagnose diseases in living patients.
Dr. Laposata, have you ever had any experience studying the brain in real time, clinically, going and opening somebody's skull and treating the injury before the person dies?
No, I'm not a neurosurgeon.
You don't have any neurological expertise, do you?
I'm not a neurologist. I'm not a neurosurgeon. I'm a forensic pathologist.
Do you have any clinical experience at all where there's an acute head injury and you're making an effort to observe it and analyze the injury as it progresses in an attempt to save the person's life?
I don't treat or diagnose living patients.
I understand, but as far as your background, have you ever had any experience, clinical experience, showing the progress of an actual brain injury and trying to treat it?
I understand the physiology of what happens to the brain when it is impacted by something, whether it be a bullet, a boulder, a fall. So I know what happens to the body to cause the changes from that trauma. I don't treat people for those injuries.
In observing a brain that's in trauma,
Oh, I'm sorry, Diane Jean. All right, now I'm Kimberly Jean. You're Diane Jean, not G anymore, babes. We renamed, okay? And my dog, somebody asked, what's going on at Kim's house? This is called a Kino Crazy Hour, okay? He has zoomed in places and in ways that I did not know were physically possible. This is Shiba Inu speed racing. Oh.
and making determinations of how long it's viable or whether the person will expire. Do you know the process that a neurosurgeon would go through in order to fight to preserve the person or save the person? Do you know the step-by-step process that they would undertake
To do what?
to try to operate or save somebody from a head injury, from a brain injury?
I'm going to allow it. becomes a priority? Sorry.
Well, it depends on what the brain injury is. If you have head injury and you have bleeding on the brain that's pushing the brain one way or the other, it would be a subdural, then a neurosurgeon would come in and try to take that blood away so it doesn't compress the brain. So that's something that neurosurgeons do to treat head trauma. They can also put in drains into the ventricle of the brain, and that can relieve pressure in
Yes,
the
it
brain, because
can.
that brain swelling is a bad thing. So those are some of the things neurosurgeons do to treat brain injury.
And can they remove part of the skull to relieve pressure?
Oh, yes, they can do that. It's called a craniotomy. They can take out part of the skull if they need to.
So there are a number of different steps that a neurosurgeon can take when someone suffers acute brain trauma to try to save the person, isn't there?
Well, the job of any doctor is to try to save a human life. If you treat.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Laposata, for hitting us with common sense. Her medical and factual, straightforward, straight shooter explanations, loveys, to me was a breath of fresh air, like, and so needed. I have a feeling, and like, what do I know? Nothing. But like, if I was the jury and I got to meet her and listen to her, I would 100% find her credible. And I would also say, oh, this makes sense more to me than anything has made sense in the last 30 days. And I believe that to my core, that Dr. Laposata has made this make sense, that KarenRead did not strike Officer John O'Keefe with her vehicle. No matter what smoke and mirrors the Commonwealth of Massachusetts attempted to throw and fling every piece of fucking weird shit they could. Well, what about this? And what about that one? Like, no, ew, no, that doesn't make sense. Where am I? I'm here.
Living patients. So certainly a neurosurgeon would evaluate the patient and decide if there's any treatment needed that could improve the patient.
When you've had cases in the past as a medical examiner where there have been issues regarding brain injury, wouldn't you agree that you have sought outside consultation with people who have a higher degree of specialty in brain injury than you?
Sometimes what we do is when we're examining the brain, we can call in for a conference and have a neuropathologist come in and review the brain with us.
Oop. Which, interestingly enough, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts did not call who, loveys? Our green goddess, another woman in STEM, Dr. Renee Stonebridge, who with me, right? If you've been with me, we have been screaming from the rooftops that Dr. Stonebridge held the key. And I got the chills today, babes. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to play the specific part because I only did certain chunks that I really wanted us to review. So I'm not keeping you here for 5 hours. But Dr. Laposata said today that that Officer John O'Keefe's body told her what happened, that she didn't need to see anything else because that's her job. And I literally got chills and standing on my arm because I was like, oh my gosh, we've said that. Like, we said that it doesn't matter what KarenRead said at the scene. It doesn't matter what bullshit they're going to find from it, their tech stream data. Officer John O'Keefe's body has always told us the truth. And who knows that? It is our ME, Dr. Irene Scorti-Bello, and the neuropathologist, Dr. Renee Stonebridge.
And back when you were a medical examiner, you did that on a number of occasions, didn't you?
Yes, that's routine.
The reason why is because there are different specialties in medicine, and some are different and separate than your specialty, correct?
Of course.
And a neurosurgeon or a brain surgeon, it would be a different specialty than yours.
Yes.
And they're focused on the brain, yes?
A neurosurgeon does brain surgery.
And so, how many times in your career do you think that you've assisted the help of neurosurgeons to take a look at brain study to help you?
I've never needed to speak with a neurosurgeon to look at a brain. Sometimes we call in neuropathologists, and we have a forensic neuropathology conference where we look at brains with the interns and residents.
How often would you call a neuropathologist?
Maybe once a month we would have a routine conference.
And again, the neuropathologist that's dealing with a person's brain after they're already died.
Correct.
So it's not a clinical setting or a clinical experience of actually watching the brain at work and seeing the injury as it progresses.
We don't do neuropathology like that on living people. The person is deceased.
You had an opinion to the jury today, and you said that you believe that Mr. O'Keefe died within 15 minutes.
Yes, I think that process would start within 15 or 20 minutes.
Is that to a reasonable degree of medical certainty, that opinion?
Yes, based on the severity of the injury and the brain swelling.
Prepare for total domination, loveys. Are you ready? Are you shitting me? Watch this masterpiece. I was excited.
You're aware that there are numerous level 1 trauma centers around the country that deal with brain injury, right?
Sure.
Yep, including
And the
Good
idea is
Samaritan
that
is a level
people
1.
suffer all types of brain injury, and if they are given medical attention in a reasonable amount of time, there's a chance they can be saved. Yes?
It's possible, but many are so severe that they cause death no matter how fast they can get medical attention.
In fact, every day when people get the right attention or proper attention, they're brought to level 1 trauma centers around this country to try to help them or save them. Isn't that fair to say?
I would hope so.
Do you think?
Sure.
Yeah.
When you looked at Mr. O'Keefe's brain, obviously it's after he already expired, correct?
Obviously,
And
yes.
so you didn't have any clinical observation of the progress of his injury that night, did you?
I was not observing him. I did not observe how he got his injury.
When you gave an estimate or you give an opinion about how long he was alive for, are you aware that there's certain tests that are done by neurosurgeons when people are suffering brain injuries, but there's an attempt to save them?
Sure.
Have you ever heard of a Guzman coma score?
Glasgow, you mean?
No, but it's Glasgow, but you've heard of
Ooh, the Guzman. The Glasgow, you mean? Queen, keep it correct.
Guzman?
It's called Glasgow coma score.
Have you ever seen the assessment that a level 1 trauma center goes through when
All
they're
of
trying
us.
to save somebody with a brain injury?
I'm generally familiar with the emergency procedures to save somebody's life.
Have you ever read any statistical studies attempting to correlate the brain injury with the time somebody would live for?
Yes.
I'm aware of that, and I see that in my practice of people who have survived brain injuries and die of something else. Then I can look at the brain and understand how the brain can heal or react to injuries.
And many people who suffer coup contre coup.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you just hit him with a 1-2 of when anyone has traumatically, unfortunately, passed away from something other than their previous brain injury or a TBI? Then she is going to say, I have looked at the pathology of our brains and how they attempt to heal themselves, because our brains are incredible, loveys. You know that, right? This is a woman who is convicted in her opinions. She knows what she's talking about, and no one will shake her. Hank Brennan, you can absolutely screw, but you try.
Will go into a brain surgeon center, and many of them pass after time, don't they?
Called a
Every case is
hospital.
different.
Right.
Not a
Some
brain
might live for an
surgeon
hour,
center.
hours, weeks, months, or survive the injury.
It
Isn't that fair to say?
it depends on the case.
Meanwhile, Mr. Wolf is hanging out in Miami, right? Fucking laser shooting the Golden Girls with a laser beam to the dome, right? And he has his patients come in and out. It's day surgery. That's why Hank Brennan thinks that things happen in a like an outpatient neuro center. No, boo. Oh, you'd be at a level 1 trauma for your emergency neurosurgery, not a fancy clinic.
In this
Blanche.
case, you don't have any objective criteria to identify the amount of time Mr. O'Keefe would have lived if he had the appropriate help. Isn't that fair to say?
I don't think it would have been effective because there were massive skull fractures to the base of the skull, and there are cases where the amount of force and energy applied to the head causing skull fractures, breaking the neurons, causing the brain swelling, despite rapid medical treatment, those people cannot be saved. They can't stop.
And what have we said since Jump Street? Okay. Again, Big Neck Daddy Higgins reference. We have said that in my opinion, which I was like, yes, queen, back me up, that Officer John O'Keefe would have never had any kind of quality of life had they kept him on a machine, on life support, until his family had an opportunity to say goodbye, perhaps, but there was no return for Officer John O'Keefe, in my opinion, and I have been very firm in that opinion because of the catastrophic brain damage that Officer John O'Keefe sustained. And Alessi's bicep said, Hanky does seem to go easier on her than some of the other experts. Babe, I think it's because he knows her, because he's used her as an expert. And he knew damn right well who she is. Can you imagine if he had like prepped her for other trials and she knows exactly how fucking slimy he is? And she was just sitting there going like, try it. Try it. You want to get spanked? Turtle? Listen, turtle. That's what she would have said to him. And she did. Oh, John DePietro. Terrible takes on Twitter today.
Effectively stop the brain swelling.
Many people can't be saved. Did you know that about 1/3 of them do get saved?
Nope.
I don't know what you're talking about. 1/3 of everybody has different sorts of injuries.
I don't know
1/3 of
what you're talking about.
With a clivus fracture, coup counter coup. Are you aware that
Zempic. Sorry, had to hit it again. Are you shitting me? I don't know what you're talking about. Everyone is different. Queen, where's your study? Cite your source.
1/3 of those patients survive if they get the proper treatment?
It depends on the amount of force.
Okay. Are you aware that a study would show? Have you ever read a study by Isaac Wolf on clivus fractures?
No.
Have you read any studies on clivus fractures?
Clivus fracture?
Thank you, my Mary, Mother of God. Pray for us sinners now in the hour of our death. Amen. Mary Malarkey, you angel. Wishing the baby, mom, and dad so well. I'm sorry that I didn't get to read your message, but I saw that everyone was okay, and that makes my heart happy. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being a surrogate mother to petty paralegal and me, the original petty paralegal in our chat.
Yes, I understand what clivus fractures are. It's a part of the base of the skull.
Okay.
And it
have
depends.
you?
Oops. Okay, go ahead.
Please. Did you want to?
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Have you read any studies that tell you, with the proper treatment, despite these potentially catastrophic injuries, that 1/3 of patients can survive?
No.
No, but that's not the case we have here.
And so, in this case, I asked if you had any objective criteria. You don't have any
Not
objective
here.
criteria about the progress of Mr. O'Keefe's wound that can be a basis for you to conclude that he would have died in 15 minutes. Isn't that fair to say?
No, I understand what happens to the brain when it gets that sort of injury. I understand the time course and the physiology. I've seen hundreds of individuals who've had brain injuries. Some survive for a longer period, some die earlier, and it depends on the amount of force and the amount of brain swelling. And in Mr. O'Keefe's case, we had the massive skull fractures of the base of the brain and immediate swelling and subarachnoid and subdural. So he had a large force applied to his head, which caused the brain swelling and the herniate and the progression of the brainstem down through the foramen magnum that stopped the brain. It was a very forceful impact.
You examined his brain after you looked at photographs. You can't tell us objectively when his brain swell started.
It started immediately after impact.
And you can tell us what the progress of that brain swell was by looking at his postmortem photos?
By looking at the postmortem photos and the postmortem examination, I can tell the degree of force from the extensive skull fractures that were present.
What was the degree of force?
It was medium to large.
Medium to large. So this wasn't a simple stop, drop, and roll. Okay, babes? This was medium to large force. And I think that she is right to say, because you want to give it an appropriate range. But at the end of the day, it was significant force.
That's a wide range. What do you mean? Quantify medium to
Quantify
Can I ask
it.
the question, Mr. Brennan?
Now we're
What is
going to go
medium to large?
here. We're going to Brennan's bullshit. That's what I wrote as a note for us. And this,
You're well reduced things. I'm going to excuse you for lunch. Lunch will be about
Go have
15
lunch.
minutes or an hour, and when you come back, we'll go straight through the afternoon. We're going to do everything we need to do now.
yeah, no one can hear you, Judge Canoni. All right, hold on, you little scatuli.
With the station nightclub fire and her running of her office. We have an audit from 2005, State Department of Rhode Island, Department of Health. In that audit, it paints a very different picture than was presented on direct examination. In that audit, they investigated chief medical examiner,
Thank you, Zoe.
and they compiled a history of statistics for the medical examiner, which was Dr. Laposata. There were no reports, incomplete reports, and unsigned reports of over 1,500 individuals between June 30th, 2000 to June 30th, 2005. So in that 5-year period, there was an extraordinary number of individuals that weren't properly attended to, showing negligence, if not malfeasance.
Oh, you mother trucker. Oops, got something in my pocket for you, Hank. We knew it was coming out today, loveys, but here is where it came out for me. Oh, just on your mark, get set. There it is, Hank. Okay, sit and spin, you weasel fuck. Now, reminder, the station nightclub, okay, was like a huge fire in Rhode Island. It was terrible. There was 100 casualties. 100 people died in like the overnight hours in 2003. It was devastating. I was in 10th grade, loveys. I was just a baby. I was a baby. I was just born, for Christ's sake. And I remember being at my Nana Phyllis's house, and I was like, geez. And it was covered on, and I think I actually watched, I'm going to talk to Ted Daniel about this. I'm going to send him a little love note. And I watched him. I watched like all the coverage for this, and it became like it became a bigger story than the most horrific accident, and a horrible accident, right? It like should have never happened. There was code shit. It was very bad. But it then got used by like political parties. And what Hank Brennan tries to spin this as like it was that the medical examiner should have been at the scene of a crime, when she clearly states that the medical examiner's office for this case, for Officer John O'Keefe, should have had the police there so that they could determine what happened and give that crucial information back to the medical examiner. But here is where he is talking about an audit, and he is saying that there was 1,500 reports, not autopsies. There is a difference. Okay, let's come close. Sorry, I have to talk shit. So the medical examiner's office, by like standards of protocol, need to complete their reports by 90-day windows. Okay, like that's where they're supposed to be. Do you know that the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, we've talked about this several times before, have been out of compliance and have almost lost their accreditation in the last 5 years a handful of times? They are one of the lowest states in Massachusetts of completion of autopsy rates. Of autopsy reports on time. They see half of the amount of autopsies as other states, including Georgia does like 40% of autopsies for all unattended deaths or all deaths. And in Massachusetts, it's only like 23%. Shut the fuck up. Like, you guys are very low on your workload. And there was overtime scandal because there's always a scandal in Massachusetts. They're up like 900% in their fucking budget in Massachusetts. So when he is saying that when Dr. Laposata was the ME, the chief medical examiner, that she was responsible for all 1,500 reports, it's factually incorrect. She has other medical examiners. And this is, again, the reports, not the autopsies themselves. All of the autopsies were conducted in an appropriate time frame. So this was another misrepresentation to the court by Hank Brennan, in my opinion.
It was recommended that the standards, policies, and practices of Dr. Laposata's office would change because of the extraordinary backlog of cases regarding autopsies. In addition, it was noted that the incomplete reports confirmed that there was significant concerns with the historical management practices of the medical examiner's office shortly after Dr. Laposata resigned. In addition, it was promoted that in the station nightclub fire, Dr. Laposata had a heroic effort, and in her testimony, she also noted that there was a failure, or implied there was a failure because the medical examiner or somebody did not go to the scene to look at the turf in front of 34 Fairview Road. She suffered the same criticism for hours and hours after the station nightclub incident. She was contacted with a request to come to the scene. She refused to come to the scene, did not appear for at least 7.
Okay, listen to me. I don't need to give her, I don't need to respond for her. She's going to do it herself. But Hank Brennan, you have muffed with the wrong woman. She's going to tune you up. Whatever you think you were going to get here, and whatever kind of bullshit and uproar that you tried to spark within Judge Beverly Cannoni, that fire got like put out really quickly. And that was a terrible analogy because of the fire of the nightclub. But that love that you were trying to build, and all of your scrunchy nose bullshit, why don't you just keep it to a minimum, pal? Because you are on thin ice, in my opinion.
17 hours, directly on point to the claims that she's making
against
other people, is the same conduct she engaged in.
The Victorian, the childlike empress is
scale.
unwell.
She testified in Commonwealth versus Tompkins. In Commonwealth versus Tompkins, she was listed and testified as an expert, attempted to testify as an accident reconstructionist.
She's not.
Denied. Inevitably, the court made conclusions.
No one cares about that. Okay, so Hank is, go with the first two, babes, that there was an audit at the ME's office and the station nightclub, which was a horrible tragedy. Now let's listen to
Because
AJ.
she is a perfectionist, determined that she was going to establish a protocol in which she would put eyes on every single report, hundreds and hundreds of reports per year. In doing so, she had to prioritize which reports were going to take a priority, which ones were being subject to litigation, which ones were going to be subject to criminal cases.
Like, she picks that, and then listen to this. Hold on.
If someone gives me a file, happy to do that. But I don't think we want to do that. I don't think the court wants to do that. Also, I will say, I don't think that attacking this witness's credibility is in good faith by the Commonwealth.
I don't think it is in good faith by the Commonwealth. Are you ready? Clutch those pearls, babes, because you are about to go to Funky Town. Why, AJ? Pray tell.
Brennan himself has hired Dr. Laposata personally no fewer than 4 or 5 times. Maybe it's 3 or 4 times. He knows her qualifications. He knows the quality of her work. He's actually undertaken to consult with her as a medical examiner and a consultant. So I don't believe that these last 2 issues are in good faith. I don't believe the station fire has anything to do with anything because she was late, according to Mr. Brennan, in coming to the actual location. She was there the same day, and she had an entire staff that was there immediately. And in terms of the audit, it's a 25-year-old political fight that isn't quite what Mr. Brennan made it out to be. So I don't think any of these things are relevant for cross-examination.
All
right.
I just want to make a note that Attorney Jackson has a way with words to just inflate or make things up. I have not.
He said, Attorney Jackson, because, God, interesting you didn't go to the podium shitbag, Brennan. Okay. You little brown paper bag of dog poop. You decided to do it right there. Why? Because there's no fucking microphones. But I got you, bitch. I got you. Candid camera. Kimmy's here. He goes, oh, AJ has a tendency to fabricate things. I have not hired Dr. Laposata 4 or 5 times.
And so that is just a mischaracterization, which he wants to do for the public. But the reality is, I've used her a few times, and the last time I used
The reality is that's a misrepresentation to the public. The reality is I've used her a few times. Oh? Well, Hank, what the fuck? What do you mean? Wait a minute. You haven't hired her 4 or 5 times, but you've used her a few times. Okay.
her. I'm not going to disclose why I don't use her anymore.
I'm not going to disclose why I don't use her anymore because she's not here for me to say it.
But the suggestion that somehow I'm endorsing the qualifications of this witness, I am not.
But somehow to assume that I am endorsing the qualifications of this witness, I am not. Well, Beverly is banging right now. Look at those bangs. Okay. She goes, what the fuck? What? Hank, say it isn't so. That's what Beverly said. Judge Beverly Canoni says, oh, I am full of baloney, but what do you mean? Now, here is where we digress, babes. It is impossible that Hank Brennan ever used, let's talk shit, hold please. It is impossible that Hank Brennan ever used Dr. Laposata when she was a medical examiner. Okay? Because he was a DA in Essex County, I believe, in Massachusetts. She was an ME in Rhode Island. We don't cross-pollinate criminally. You know what I'm saying? Different states. So if she's been in private practice and had her consulting business, by definition, you unhinged prick, you hired her a few times. Why are you always lying, Hank? Like, Hank, does that make you feel good? What are you talking about? You con artist. He looks, God, doesn't he look like a used car salesman? Oh, it gives me so much used car salesman energy. And Judge Canoni's like, oh, put me in the Buick. Put me in it. Oh, is it shimmying down the highway? Oh, no worries.
Okay. So the first two,
She rules that a couple of things can come in with the station nightclub fire and the audit. And then 5:15. Then everyone went to lunch very late. Now 5:15. We're almost done, loveys. Thank you for bearing with me. I've had so much fun with you.
John O'Keefe was found to make observations. Did you suggest that in any way on direct examination?
You have to know what the scene looks like. And usually that is documented in police reports and in police photographs who document the scene.
The station nightclub fire, that had numerous victims, didn't it?
Yes, 100.
And you received criticism because you were repeatedly requested by emergency responders and police officials to come to the scene, and you refused?
That's incorrect. First of
Okay.
all, nobody called me to come to the scene, and medical examiners are not first responders. As soon as I got a call that there was that fire in the nightclub, my investigator went right to the scene, and I was in constant communication with him throughout the early morning hours of that horrible accident. And I went into the medical examiner's office because I had to start getting ready to run our office 24 hours a day to not only take care of the poor individuals who expired in the nightclub fire, but also the regular work of the medical examiners.
Oh, is there a better answer ever on record in the United States of America? No. Nope. Keep telling us, tell us more, because facts matter, expert witnesses.
So there was no need for me to go to the scene because I had my investigator there. And my job would be at the office to get things all set up to handle
Of
the
course it would.
influx of deceased.
Did you receive criticism that over 17 hours there was an effort to have you come to the scene, but you refused?
There was,
I'm going to allow it in a different form.
that's incorrect.
Hold on,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I didn't mean to scare you. Just
Oh, and you frightened her. Judge Canoni, get your shit together. You're scaring our queen. It got a laugh in the courtroom. The jury loves her. This is me. I'm thinking it, babes. Do you think so? How can you not love her? Look at her. That's how I look every fucking morning when I turn on the television and I see Judge Canoni at the bench just ruling reckless bullshit. I go, I'm scared. I'm scared of her. Help me. Help me. Oh.
Okay.
hold on for a second.
Okay.
Ask him differently, Mr. Brennan, please.
Did you receive criticism that officials?
I'm going to allow it based on the ending, pursuant to the ending. Let's get it.
Did you receive criticism that for over 17 hours officials were asking you to come to the scene and you refused?
It was untrue. It was printed in the newspaper. We looked up all the phone records and provided it to the newspapers and showed that nobody called me to go. I would have gone if I needed to. I had my investigator there. It was just bullshit. No, it was erroneous stuff.
Oh, there it is. Boop, boop, boop-a-doo. I'm sorry. Like, again, here is her checking. Checkmate, okay? Where she says to Hank Brennan, absolutely not. It was bullshit. Oops, oopsies. Because I wouldn't curse because she's a lady, okay? But she said it was erroneous. And also, what did she do? What the newspaper printed, she went back and pulled all the phone records and said, no one called me. And I would have been there if anyone needed me. So shut all the way the fuck up, Hank Brennan.
Was there other criticisms in 2005 before you left the office?
There was a flurry of stuff in the papers. There were union issues, new director of health, new governor.
Political.
So yeah, there was a little flurry of stuff, which was not substantive.
So you inevitably did resign in 2005.
Yes, because my budget was going to be cut, and I knew that if I
Listen.
had to get rid of a medical examiner, we couldn't do a good job for the state. And I'd done it. I'd been chief for 12 years. I'd been on call 24 hours a day for 12 years, which was an honor, really. But then
Oh, could there have been a better answer? That I was having budget cuts. There was a change in office. There was a change in the political structure. I had done this for 12 years, and I had been on call for the people of Rhode Island for 12 years, and it was an honor. I'm like, oh, and then she gives it to us, but even better if possible.
And if I couldn't do a good job, if we cut the budget, I had to get rid of a medical examiner. I couldn't serve the people of Rhode Island well, so I resigned.
I mean, oh, I'm sorry, in healthcare, that budget cuts and bureaucracy and you not being able to staff your programs appropriately meant something to you. And you didn't want to keep that title of the medical examiner and be able to provide the service that you had for over a decade because you didn't feel as though you could have done it that would have been beneficial to the people of Rhode Island, your people. I mean, babes, if I couldn't have loved her anymore, what you tried to impeach her, you made her more relatable and human and showed her compassion and empathy and care for others. And that community matters, truth matters. Making sure that you are doing the right thing by people matters. I do not think that I could have expected who she was today on the stand. But I'm so glad we met her. And I think that it's women in STEM that are freeing KarenRead. And I tip my hat to you, Dr. Elizabeth Laposata. You deserve to be absolutely praised for your work and the 40 plus years you have given to the medical profession and to the community around you.
Did you resign shortly after the audits and criticism?
No.
Same year?
Oh, I don't even remember.
Okay. After you resigned, you opened your own company?
Yes, I started an independent consulting practice.
How much of your business is consulting?
It's a consulting practice.
Yeah, how much of your business, how much of your income is consulting?
100%.
That would be 100% Hank. Bark up another tree, you little fucking weasel. Okay, now we're going in to 523, and then we're going to be over, babes. Ready? Here it is. 526. We got to hit that. We got to hit hypothermia via Hank because he's not getting
The hospital
it.
was 80 degrees,
Yes.
and there's different ways to take somebody's or a body's temperature, isn't there?
Yeah, that was a rectal temperature, so that's a good representation of the body temperature.
Is the variance between a common practice of taking temperature by somebody's mouth and rectal, is it about a 3 or 4 degrees difference, or do you have a different experience?
It can be different. A rectal temperature gives you a better internal body temperature. The oral temperature, if you're breathing in or if you just had something cold in your mouth, may not register a proper temperature. So the rectal temperature is the preferred temperature for a medical diagnosis.
98.6 is an important temperature, isn't it?
Yeah, it's our usual normal body temperature.
And so, is there a standard? Is 95 degrees considered hypothermic?
If you have, then clinically you would start to worry that the person might be experiencing bad effects of hypothermia.
At 95 degrees?
At 95, you start to worry about it.
And could some of the things that happen is labored breathing?
Is what?
Labored breathing?
What about labored breathing?
Well, if someone is hypothermic,
What about
95 degrees, does it affect their breathing patterns?
Not especially.
Okay. Does it affect the way their respiratory system works?
No.
Does it have any effects on the human body if you're hypothermic at 95 degrees?
No. You're still okay.
If that
why am I
temperature
lagging?
continues to decline, it starts to become dangerous, doesn't it?
It can.
Mr. O'Keefe was evaluated, and at the hospital, his body temperature from a rectal reading was 80 degrees at about, 6:37?
Correct.
Did you know that before he got to the hospital, first responders had him in an ambulance?
Of course.
Did you know they turned
Yes,
their
I
feet up
did
and
know
put blankets
that.
on him and tried to provide warmth to him before he got to the hospital?
Yes, that would be standard practice.
And that standard practice would usually add temperature to the person, wouldn't it?
No.
Well, it might.
So it's possible it could, but it might not.
It usually doesn't add that much.
I see. And so inevitably, at 6:37, Mr. O'Keefe's body was 80 degrees.
Yes, when he got to the hospital, his rectal temperature was 80 degrees.
And so that is a drop from the standard, or what's expected of 98.6 degrees. That's a drop of at least 18.6 degrees.
Yes.
You mentioned that
Oh,
Mr.
ooh.
O'Keefe, after suffering his head injury, would
Oh,
not
no.
have moved other than twitching.
Correct.
I done.
No purposeful movement.
Were you aware that he had an iPhone with healthcare data on it?
Oh, sorry, loveys.
No.
If there's no movement, assume for a second there's no movement of Mr. O'Keefe after 12:32:16, and he's found a little after 6 a.m. in the morning. That's about 5 hours or 5.5 hours, correct?
About.
And if somebody is in the cold for 5.5 hours, that's consistent with dropping from 98.6 degrees to 80 degrees in body temperature, isn't it?
If the person is dead, yes.
If a person is outside in the cold and still
Huge. Now try to follow this, loveys. It gets a little weird because of the way that Hank tries to confuse. But listen to her and listen to the answers which she gives and she sticks with. And he keeps screwing it up between a expired body, a dead person versus a living human's rate of temperature drop.
alive, will their body temperature decrease?
If they can, people can die of hypothermia, but that's not the case here.
not the ultimate death, but if somebody's outside and they're alive and they're lying in the snow and it's below freezing, will they lose body temperature?
They will, especially if they're not bundled up well.
And body temperature can drop from 2.5 to 4 degrees an hour?
In a dead body.
In a living
Listen,
person, it can drop 1.5 degrees.
No. A dead body at room temperature will usually lose body temperature at like 1.5 degrees an hour. If a dead body is in a cold environment covered with snow and avalanche environments, the dead body can cool at 4 degrees per hour.
And so a person who is in cold conditions, starting to be covered by snow, less than freezing, they can lose body temperature when they're living, can't they?
If you're sure, you can. People die of hypothermia, but that's
Yeah.
not the case here.
Well, someone could be alive, lose body.
oh, babes, the absolute certainty, like she is not the one to fuck with. She's like, yeah, Hank, try to read my report and actually make it make sense, pal. Okay, pally boy. If you're going to take my words, you're not going to spin them. And what I told you was that you can lose body temp between 3 and 4 degrees if someone is post-mortem. They do not lose that quickly if you are of living condition. Take it away.
Body temperature and not die. That can happen, can't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if someone is in the cold, let's assume they're not dead for a second. They're in the
right.
snow, below freezing, not moving. Can that person lose body temperature if they're still alive?
Sure. They just lie there. They can become hypothermic and die.
Even before they become hypothermic, can they lose body temperature?
Well, losing body temperature makes you hypothermic. Thermic is temperature and hypo means below.
Lower.
So your temperature goes down and you're hypothermic because it's going down.
And people can survive from being hypothermic if they get the right care.
Sure.
And so in that 5.5 hours,
Kelly, just give me 2
it is
minutes, babe.
consistent with a person being outside in the cold and starting at 98.6 and ending at 80. That's consistent with being in the cold for 5.5 hours, isn't it?
Oh.
For a dead body, yes. That's how a dead body would cool in a snow-covered cold environment.
And
Oh. And this was it. Finish him. Okay. So now, meanwhile, back at the ranch, this is Hank trying to do what? Spin it. He wants to play Twister, bitch. He's ready to play Jenga. The whole friggin' thing just fell over. You lost the tower, fucker. Now, let me tell you what she just said. He goes, it can fit your equation that Officer John O'Keefe was out on that lawn for 5.5 hours or was in cold temperature for 5.5 hours. And she goes, yeah, if he was not living. Oh. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Oh, okay. So if he was hypothermic, like 95 degrees, right, guys? Then you're still hypothermic. You're colder. You're chilly willy, right? But you're still alive. You are not perfusing and unable to be saved, right? Like you didn't go under a ice skating rink. Let's say, for example, you know how like sometimes kids or adults have fallen into ice, right? Ponds. They're playing hockey. The ice isn't thick enough somewhere. Boom, you're under. There have been miraculous cases where someone could be at 80, 84, 86 degrees core body temp, and they have come back to life, and they've coded, they've treated them, and they've warmed them. They maybe have drilled an intraosseous, but they still come back. Rare, but it can happen. Dr. Laposata, in one line of questioning, has given her medical opinion that Officer John O'Keefe, at what time, I don't know if she's going to say it was at 12:32 a.m. because that's not what the defense's theory is, but around about between, I would say, 12:30 and 1, right? She said that something happened, and within about 15 to 20 minutes, She believes that Officer John O'Keefe's autonomic nervous system had shut down because he was incapacitated immediately, in her opinion, upon that impact to his skull. Okay. He has the fractures, the basal skull fractures are radiating. He has the brain swelling and he is unable to move. Okay. Then what happens next? He is unalived. The herniation in the brainstem occurs quickly. And she is saying that the only way that Officer John O'Keefe dropped to that degree was because he was expired. He was no longer with us. Oh. You only drop degrees to 3 to 4 degrees per 3 to 4 degrees per hour if you are deceased. If you are living, your body heat reduction, even if you're becoming hypothermic, is only going to be around 1.5 degrees per hour per Dr. Laposata. I said, oh, and then doesn't that make sense? Doesn't it make sense then if he's in a colder place? I'm just saying, if it is the garage or wherever, he's somewhere. And that is why he never had frostbite. Because, babe, your body isn't reacting if your body is not alive to react. Oh. This took me to Funky Town.
It could also be consistent with somebody who is alive for some time and then dies, correct?
I don't understand your question.
Somebody could be out in the cold, under the snow, sub-freezing. They could be alive for some time. The body temperature could drop. And then when they pass and die, their body temperature could continue to drop probably at a more rapid pace. That still fits within
No.
5.5 hours, doesn't it, Dr. Laposata?
No.
Oh. Okay. Because if someone can drop 4 degrees of body temperature in an hour,
A dead body.
yes, it would only take about a little over 4 hours if it was at 4 degrees to go from 98.6 to 80. Yes?
Correct, yes. So he was exposed to that cold environment for 4 to 5 hours.
If somebody was alive for a couple of hours, it's a lower rate, say they lose 3 degrees. And then, after that couple hours, they lose body temperature at 4 degrees. That would still fit and be consistent with a drop from 98.6 to 30 degrees,
No.
to 80 degrees, wouldn't it?
No, you were saying a dead body cools in a cold environment at maybe 3 to 4 degrees an hour. And that has nothing to do with a living body and how long they can stay at a body temperature.
Do you disagree that somebody could be alive, lose body temperature, out in the cold, freezing temperature below 32? They could lose body temperature at a certain rate, then pass out, die, and then continue to lose body temperature. Is that possible?
Anything's possible. It's just what's important is what happened in this case.
I'm asking for your medical opinion, though, rather than to be an advocate. As far as your medical opinion,
So sustained, and I'll strike that.
as far as
Dr.
your,
Laposata,
Yes.
would you listen to the question, please?
Of course, thank you, Your Honor.
as far as your medical experience, could
Instead of being an advocate, that was his one dig. And Hank Brennan tried to dig it, babes, because he can see the tide is turning. This was the moment in which I feel it was Dr. Elizabeth Laposata whom broke Hank Brennan's spirit. He knows. I feel like I'm that TikTok. He knows. He knows, right? Like he knows, right? Oh. You can't come back from this one. And you kept going.
somebody be alive, outside, in the cold, below 32 degrees, not moving, covered by snow, still alive, and lose body temperature?
Sure.
And then could they, after an hour, 2 hours, could they then die and continue to lose more body temperature?
Sure.
You mentioned your opinion about injury on Mr. O'Keefe. And at one point you said that his injury was inconsistent with a taillight, and you said because there was no damage from the bumper. Do you remember saying that?
I don't think I said it quite that way.
Okay. Do you remember how you said it?
The coup de grace is coming right now, Loveys. Hold on tight. We've got 2 more minutes. Can you stand it?
No.
Do you remember discussing or raising the issue of a bumper as part of your equation, that the injury to Mr. O'Keefe was inconsistent with the injuries?
He has no injuries on him that are consistent with being hit by the back of the SUV. That includes the spoiler, that includes the bumper.
Okay, if we could play video E, please. I want to ask
no,
you,
you
Dr.
can't.
Laposata, have you seen this video before?
Oh, just kidding. She's not allowed. But I wanted to show you that. This was the final moment, Loveys. I wanted you to see that this experiment that was done by ARCA at 29 miles per hour with Rescue Randy, justice for Rescue Randy, that poor fuck. He's been through a lot, all right? He's a real man, again. And when we see this apparent alternate universe where the Commonwealth of Massachusetts wants to play this 50 fucking times and think that they've got a W in their column, well, I am sorry to tell you that you have sorely friggin' made a mistake. Because this 100% anybody with eyeballs and a brain, babes, would say that there had to have been a break to some part of that arm. And now we've got the X-rays that show there was no break. There was no hairline fracture. There was no injury of different depths, of sporadic in nature. We have patterned wounds in the same depth and, quite honestly, in similar spacing from the mid upper brachial to the mid forearm. And you thought you had the win when you don't. And this was where you lost the entire game, which is not a game, but you treated it like that, Hank Brennan, because you've hidden certain parts of this case since day one. This has been a shameful, shameful exercise in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Officer John O'Keefe deserved better. The O'Keefe family deserved better. The Read family deserved better. And KarenRead deserved better. But one thing I will say to you, Loveys, in all of my heart and soul, is that today has changed the trajectory in Commonwealth v. KarenRead, the retrial. Dr. Rentschler got up and he is going to talk all that shit. But the MVP for me is Dr. Laposata. She gave Hank a spoonful of fucking sugar to help the medicine go down. And he took his medicine today. And we are still waiting on Judge Cannoni to make a decision about what she is going to say with that instruction that she did yesterday that was so weak and so out of bounds that I know giving Attorney Alessi and AJ and Eliza Little and David Yannetti, my bowl of spaghetti, giving them more time to write up what they want that instruction to say is the worst thing you could have ever done, Judge Cannoni. Because it was supposed to be done as close as it could to the time of the misinformation and Hank Brennan's actual questioning to the witness, Dr. Wolf, Arca Wolf. So she's going to talk about that closer to jury deliberation slips. I mean, jury slips, right? And that's also setting her up for appellate problems, but I digress. We won't need it because today restored my faith, and I hope it restored yours, loveys. We are here. We have made it. Dr. Rentschler is going to wrap up the defense case in chief in a bow. We are going to have rebuttal from Judson B. Welcher, and I cannot wait for Attorney Alessi to shove those X-ray films so far up his ass that his mother will feel it. And I believe there may be a change in his. What would there be a change in? Maybe
But what happens when I spread my load out, when I lay on my bed like this?
Yep. I feel like there's going to be a lot less load spreading if you're picking up what I'm putting down. And on that note, I love your faces. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. We've done this 100 fucking times. Hopefully not all of you, okay? Because this is absolutely abnormal. But I did put in a little raffle for tonight for 100. I got Toscano Forno. They were the restaurant that did the fundraiser that I went to in the North Shore right up in Peabody. I got a gift certificate, hundo. I said it's $100, a hundo. They're a free KarenRead establishment. I support, okay? Women supporting women. And I wanted to, if anybody did send a Venmo, I'm going to pick a number. I'm going to pick a number. Ready? On your mark, get set. Doo-doo. She's going to pick it real good. Diane McGuire. Lovey. 100. Did you want to be in this? You said 100th show. Awesome. I hope you wanted to be in it. Send me your email, babe, and I'm going to send you that gift certificate. Have some supper on me. Get the bread. It's fucking bomb. Okay. I love your faces. I'll talk to you soon, guys. Night.